Hello everyone, this is Grandson FPV channel, and today I'm starting a series of FPV videos called Simple FPV for people who are new to drones, who don't want to go into detail and just want to go out and fly. Today I want to review several FPV antennas, but before I do, I want to go over some basic principles on how video transmission works. This is a little drone, mini drone, and it has a FPV camera. It sends the picture to the video transmission module called VTX, and VTX at certain frequencies it transmits video signal to your goggles through this antenna. This is called a dipole antenna or a stick antenna. Dipole antennas are very common for mini drones because they're very light. However, they're not the best, and this is why. The reason is because dipole antennas, they have signal focused around it, but they have blind spots on the top and on the bottom. It looks like this, if this white tape would be the signal. That means that to get the best picture, your dipole antennas must be oriented this way. If one of your antennas is oriented this way, the signal is going to get worse. And if both antennas are oriented this way, the signal will be the worst. This is why it's not the best to have a dipole antenna on the drone. Well, now you may think, what antenna is better to use for a drone? And the answer is omnidirectional antenna. Like this one, Pagoda, or a cloverleaf, right? But I have a dipole antenna, so I will explain about that. Now let's see what's the antenna orientation when I fly my drone. When it flies away from me, the antenna is oriented this way. When it flies back to me, the antenna is oriented this way. That means when it flies away from me, the signal should be okay. But when it flies back to me, the signal is not so good. That simply means that it's very important how antenna is oriented on the drone, because drone is moving all the time, and so the antenna. So in this review, I want to show you what antenna on the goggles would perform the best with the dipole antenna on the drone. Here is how I tested my antennas. These goggles, SkyZone V2, they come with a stock dipole antennas. And for the first flight, I decided to remove the right stock antenna. You only keep a dipole antenna on the left side. For the second flight, I used this Pagoda antenna made by Realacc, also on the left side. For the third flight, I used this TBS Triumph antenna ordered from T-Blackship website. And I used 45-degree connector for it, because this antenna is kind of short. Flight number 4. For this test, I used this Pagoda antenna made by Foxeer. Also used this 45-degree connector. And for the flight number 5, I used this directional helical antenna made by ORT. And for the flight number 6, I decided to use omnidirectional antenna with a stock dipole antenna on the right side. And this is to test how this setup will perform if you only replace one stock dipole antenna with omnidirectional antenna. For the flight number 7, I replaced the stock dipole antenna with directional helical antenna. And in my opinion, that should have given the best performance. And to test how these both antennas would perform with omnidirectional antenna on a drone, I used a different drone. It's a ET Max drone with cloverleaf omnidirectional antenna. And I want to note that all the omnidirectional antennas and directional antenna are right-hand polarized. And you should never use right-hand polarized antenna with a left-hand polarized antenna. For instance, like this one, because this will give you very bad performance. The flying distance is slightly over 500 meters in a city park, and there are lots of interferences around, such as power lines and road lights. Okay, the first flight we have is with a dipole antenna, stock antenna that comes with the goggles. And you can see lots of horizontal lines on the DVR, but try to ignore them. I think something is wrong with my VTX, and they will eventually go away. But as you can see also, there is some static breakups, but we going okay. So far so good. Halfway there. Having more breakups. This is my son running around to make sure the drone's not gonna crash. And we're reaching the end point. Almost there, but having lots of breakups now. It's hard to see. Okay, now I'm turning around and that's it. I'm crashed. Okay, I'm doing my second flight, and this time I'm using Pagoda antenna made by Realacc. Let's see how it performs. As you can see now, actually there is much less of these horizontal lines. As I said, they will go away. I want to say that we having less static breakups that we saw in the previous flight with the dipole antenna, stock antenna that comes with the goggles. Okay, reaching the end point, almost there. You can see more breakups now, and I'm ready to turn around, and there's nothing I can see, and I crashed. Okay, this is the third flight now, and this time I'm using the TBS Triumph antenna. This antenna is expensive, so I expect it to perform really good. Let's see how it goes. And actually now you can see lots of breakups, and that's kind of disappointing. We'll see how it goes. Still breakups. Halfway there. Now having more breakups now, and it's kind of hard to see. Getting closer to the end point, but you know, I can't really see, and it's kind of dangerous to go farther, so I decided to turn around. And I actually need to get really high now to get a signal, which I did, and I think I'm good now. But so far I'm very disappointed. Still having breakups, but I'm getting really close to the place where I am actually standing. Whoa, there are birds. I don't want to deal with them right now. Okay, the fourth antenna I tried is the Pagoda antenna made by Foxeer. And the signal is pretty good. I don't see much of a breakups. There are some, but not too many. The picture is clear. I think I'm going good. And I don't know, but for some reason DVR has more statics, more breakups than I actually saw in the goggles. But you can still see, even in the DVR, the picture is good. Okay, I'm getting close to the end point, and I'm getting the breakups now. I think it's time to turn around, and I'm turning around, and there is nothing really you can see, so I crashed again. Okay, this is the flight number 5, and this time I'm using directional antenna. Directional antenna, it's a helical antenna made by ORT, and I expect it give the best signal even with the dipole antenna on a drone, well, because it's directional. Well, and now you can see I'm halfway there, and I almost did not have any breakups. The picture is clear. I'm going okay. So far I think that would be the best flight I had. I'm almost at the end point. Okay, almost there. Alright, I don't want to really go any further, and it's time to turn around. Can't really see anything, but still going. I have lots of breakups. Still having breakups, but going very carefully. Oh, now picture is okay. Some breakups still. But this is the first time I actually was able to turn around and fly back to my place, to the place where I'm standing. Getting closer, but still having breakups. Okay, I think I'm good. This is the flight number 6, and I already tested all the antennas I had one by one, and this time I decided to put 2 antennas on the goggles. One antenna is a stock dipole antenna that you have, that comes with the goggles, and the second antenna is one of the tested omnidirectional antennas. And in my personal opinion, I think Pagoda antenna made by Foxeer performed the best, so I decided to put it on the goggles together with the dipole antenna. And as you can see, you're still having breakups, but the flight is okay. The picture is clear. I'm getting closer to the end point now. Almost there. The picture is not so bad. Okay, it's time to turn around. Okay, and now I almost don't see anything. Almost crashed. Don't really see where I'm going. Flying really carefully. But it's getting better now. Still lots of breakups. But this is actually the first time I made it with two antennas and with no directional antenna. Okay, this is the flight number 7, and this time I also have two antennas on the goggles. One is omnidirectional antenna Pagoda Foxeer, and I replaced the stock dipole antenna with directional helical antenna. I decided to keep these two antennas because they showed the best performance in the previous flights. So I expect the best picture when I have these two antennas on the goggles. And actually, this is what I'm having. I think this is the best picture I have so far. Have almost no breakups, and I'm almost at the end point. Okay, I'm at the end point now, and the picture is okay, some breakups, and I decided to turn around. Having breakups, but I can see something, not too much though. Having lots of breakups, but carefully going back, and the picture is much better. Okay, I think I made it. Yes, I think I found the two antennas that I will be using, and this is the final flight, the flight number 8. I'm having the same antennas on the goggles. It's omnidirectional antenna made by Foxeer and directional antenna made by ORT. But as you can see, this is a different drone. It has a better camera that gives clear picture. But what's more importantly, it has different VTX. The VTX is Matek, set to 500 milliwatts, and it has a right-hand polarized omnidirectional cloverleaf antenna, whereas the mini drone that I've flown in the previous flights has a video transmitter TBS Unified Pro 32 Nano 5GA set to 400 milliwatts, but what's more importantly, it has dipole antenna, not the omnidirectional antenna. And I know that you cannot really compare DVRs from these two drones because video transmitters are different, the output power is different, but I think this significant difference in the video signal strength is due to omnidirectional antenna on the VTX on this particular drone, and that's why you're having clear picture. Okay, now let's talk about the results. You can actually fly with stock dipole antennas, but performance would not be the best. So I recommend to use one omnidirectional antenna and a directional antenna instead. I was surprised to see that TBS Triumph antenna from Team Black Sheep showed actually the worst result, even worse than a dipole antenna. This is just my opinion, and I'm not gonna use it for sure. This Pagoda antenna from Realacc showed good performance, better than TBS Triumph. I think it's a good, cheap antenna that could give you good performance, good signal. But I think that Pagoda antenna from Foxeer gives you the best performance among all these omnidirectional antennas. And this is what I will be using as an omnidirectional. And directional antenna from ORT also showed good results. So this is gonna be my setup. Pagoda Foxeer and directional helical ORT. However, I also recommend you to replace a dipole antenna on a drone, if you have one, with a small omnidirectional antenna. As you can see from the flight test, when the drone flying back to me, you have lots of breakups, and signal was very weak. So I will be definitely replacing this dipole antenna with omnidirectional antenna. Alright, thank you very much for watching. Don't judge me too strong. This is my second review, and I will put all the links for the antennas and the goggles and the drone in the description, so hit like if you like this video. Thank you.